Hello, my name is Ngom Gafor, and I edit Africally Speaking. With some of the world's most prominent economies, expanding markets, and a large young population, Africa is poised for global leadership. But security risks remain a threat to its progress. From Al-Shabaab attacks in Kenya to Boko Haram bombings in Nigeria and neighboring countries, terrorism is proving an increasing challenge for the continent. As its leaders seek assistance internationally, security experts David Otto, Chris Samuel, and Raphael Akazara argue that Africa's solutions lie within its borders. At the University of East London, I sat down with David Otto and Chris Samuel. My education on imaginative counter-terrorism started with an explanation of what their company, TGS, is about. And speaking of imagination, you've seen what technology has done for Africa.
Yes.
I mean, 20, 30 years ago, the sort of tech advances that we're seeing, we could never have seen. But still, I think we're still relatively behind the rest of the world, if we're honest. So, in a sense, one would think maybe this cyber terrorism that is, causing a lot of problems for governments, for companies in the Western world, we are not quite there yet. Now, it kind of ties in nicely with your ideas about imagination. What can we do as experts, as African governments, as people who want security on that continent? What can we do with our relatively slow technological development? Because it's progressing, but how can we take advantage of this sort of lag to preempt the problems that we're seeing in the Western world?
I think it still come back to framework. The British government here, the Western world have an existing framework, we shall look at within the realm of the criminal justice system, So it's easy for them to maybe look at the criminal justice system as, okay, we will have certain unit to do certain tasks within existing framework. But in Nigeria, let's say for example Nigeria, where we don't have any framework, the criminal justice system is broken, it doesn't work as effective as it should be. It's to go back to the drawing table and say, okay, due to the current trend of things now, the security trend problem that exists around the world now, we now need to see how we can fine tune our existing framework to make it work better. So it's like maybe carrying out a reform within the criminal justice system to make it accountable and then be able to serve the need of the people. And then you'll be able to maybe have a cyber unit within that criminal justice system that can prevent things. But when the existing system or framework doesn't work, then it's going to be difficult, because the British government or the United States that have an existing program that spend trillions of dollars and pounds annually to provide security are struggling. When you don't have framework, where do you start from?
Exactly.
Can I just add to that, because very nicely, as Chris has said, cyber terrorism and cyber crime is something which is growing very, very much in Africa, because the technological advancement is shifting towards Africa. Africa now has a very, very huge amount of contribution when it comes to new technology. And the ambivalence of technology, as seen on the security platform, is that, as much as technology is good for development, technology has also been good for bringing in things like cybercrime and cyber terrorism, which is going to be a pain in the business of terrorism and security for Africa. So what can be done, as Chris said, is for there to be an existing framework. But while waiting for the existing framework, I think, we have to be able to look at what the West is doing by actually getting a database for Africa. Because when you have a database for Africa, which means, you can be able to tell who is who uses what items, who uses what technology. We don't have that at the moment because we do not have a framework. So the only way to mitigate and to be imaginative is for the African governments to ensure that we have a framework whereby, we can be able to build a powerful database to know who is using what within the system. Because if you don't do that, we will now have an increase in radicalization online. At the moment, we don't have that because, the technology is not that advanced. But do not count them out, because, I believe that because we cannot actually tell if they are using it, doesn't mean they are not using it.
Yeah, and it's not desirable for the terrorists to have online radicalization because
it's available.
It's available there. I mean, there are kids on the street that wants to be radicalized. So you understand?
Exactly.
The key thing is to tackle different kind of maybe problem that exist within our community in Nigeria. If we have to maybe be able to tackle any security threat adequately, we have to go back to drawing table, have a comprehensive framework that deal with all these problems, and then be able to preempt as well. Using the imagination of, if we don't do this, this is what is going to be happening. Here we have what we call the National Crime Survey.
Yes.
It's still a data system as well, where you can follow trend. Burglary, terrorism, armed robbery, rapes, and things like that. You can look at that indices and say, okay, you understand? Because we've been able to channel certain resources towards this crime. It has been on the minimum for this year. This is likely to be on the increase, and then we need to divert our resources there. It's still about having comprehensive framework that tackle things. But
absolutely,
we don't have it.
So
we don't have it yet.
I think when one talks to you, one really gets a sense of, a fuller picture of what's going on and a sense of what challenges we have. Everybody, I think, that I've spoken to, various experts, there's no one I know that doesn't agree that 2015 has been quite a year for Africa in terms of security. So how do you think, and I'll start with you, Chris, how should we move forward in 2016? Because we want this thing to be better. We want to grow economies. How do we do things better in 2016?
Well, I mean, the president since he became Buhari, since he became president, has been traveling around and trying to lure investors to come to Nigeria to invest there, and trying to encourage Nigeria in the diaspora as well to come back home. But we have problem with that. We have problem in the sense that it's very, very difficult for people that have substantial amount of resources to want to come and invest in an environment that is not secure. So instead of the government traveling all over the world, I think that he needs to sit down and pay attention to what the problem actually is in Nigeria. Because it's not only terrorism that we have in the north. We have the Biafra movement in the south.
Oh, yeah, men.
Yeah, we have men. We have they are there. We have the Niger Delta boys. We have different issues, security issues that can destroy the country if adequate attention is not paid to it. So the way forward is we have to have a comprehensive framework to identify the security problem challenges that we have in Nigeria and how we're going to deal with them. And it's going to take different kind of maybe unit to deal with them, because the resources that's required to deal with security threat in Southeast is different for what is going to be required to deal with security threat that is emerging from maybe northeast of the country. And likewise, with the problem that is very perennial in Lagos or Southwest is different. You have different kind of security challenges too in Lagos and in Southwest. You have a high level of what I call ritual killings.
Okay.
You have high levels of armed robberies in Lagos. You have different kind of issues. So Nigeria has huge security challenges that that require the urgent attention of the federal government of Nigeria, and for them to be able to sit down with necessary bodies, experts, develop a framework on how they can tackle it. Only then will Nigeria be able to maybe make any meaningful stride. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And so for you, David, I think you can take this either Cameroon or the general situation. 2016, we need to do this thing better.
2016 is going to be a very challenging year, unfortunately, because what you have now is, from the global scene, you have groups like ISIL and Al-Qaeda, which is going to be terrible for security solution providers, because now ISIL and Al-Qaeda, are now a pain, not just to the Western government, but because of the affiliations and the allegiances and the support that groups like Boko Haram in West Africa have, given their support, it will be very, very difficult. So from the global perspective, it is not looking very good. Because then what you have now is you have the pro-American coalitions, fighting against, the Russian coalitions, fighting over Syria. So that is itself, a problem, because that affects Europe. But then how it translates to Africa is, if you look at groups like Boko Haram in Nigeria, if you look at in Cameroon, Niger, and Chad, as we spoke about, Al-Shabaab in Kenya. You have groups, you have problems in Burundi at the moment. You have security issues in Central African Republic, with the anti-Salaka and the Beleka movements, Christians and Muslims fighting each other. You have all these problems that are happening within the region of Africa, but there is no coordination. So 2016, unfortunately, if care is not taken, but I'm not just talking about care, if action is not taken to put all the regional states, on a platform and address this issue as a unique problem to everyone, and not just the states which are affected, even states which have not been affected yet, have to start getting involved to ensure that, they are very proactive in, fighting against this terrorism and insecurity issue in Africa. Moving to Nigeria, the problem is getting worse. For the past 6 months, Boko Haram has killed more people than it's done, averagely, for the past 13 years that it's been, operating since 2002. So what we have to understand is, there has to be a holistic measure that has to be taken, as my colleague said, within the Nigerian sector. But that is not enough, because if you do not actually work hand in gloves with groups with the government of Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, that is very, very counterproductive. For Cameroon, it is really getting worse as well, because Cameroon, is getting more affected by Boko Haram. So what might happen, is that, Boko Haram might spread into the southern areas of Cameroon in 2016, because as the Nigerian government pushes Boko Haram far away from the from northeast Nigeria, across the Sambisa forest, they are getting more involved in Cameroon, as we've seen in recent attacks. And mind you that in 2016, which is a couple of months ahead, Cameroon is hosting the African Cup of Nations. And we might see a situation whereby if security is not taken very seriously, Boko Haram might decide, to put Cameroon on a more global map, by, performing one of their suicide bombing attacks in one of the stadiums. So this has to be taken very, very seriously. We also have the issues within the south of Cameroon, which, might come up. Why would it come up? It might come up because right now in Nigeria, in the southeast of Nigeria, you have the Biafra movement, which is seeking for a cessation from the government. They are agitating, very, very seriously in the southeast of Nigeria. They want, the Biafra state, which used to be, which was fought for between 1967 and 1970. They want that to be reactivated. They are looking for independence. And what they are doing is, they would trigger Southern Cameroon National Congress to also seek for independence from the Republic of Cameroon. And if that happens, then you find that the Cameroon government would not just be fighting Boko Haram in northeast; it will be fighting a civil war with the southern part of Cameroon, which might also be linking, sharing notes with the Biafra movement. So 2016 is a very, very delicate year for security. So the Cameroon government has to have preemptive proactive measures, rather, in Cameroon to ensure that Boko Haram does not spill over to the south. Because Douala, which is the economic capital of Cameroon, has more Muslims, influential Muslims, has the most powerful mosque in Cameroon than even the north of Cameroon. So you realize that, there's a very high concentration of Muslims in Douala. So if there are not enough security measures, what will happen is we will see that Boko Haram might easily spill over to southern Cameroon, which will make the problem worse. So we have different things which 2016 might bring. I sound a little bit, pessimistic about it because, as my colleague said, there is no framework, and the government is not thinking proactively or in terms of imagination. They are not putting out to think that, these are some of the things that needs to be tackled. So 2016 is really not looking good for security issues in Africa. But the good news is, Africa has the resources, Africa has the intellectuals, Africa has the experts, but they need to make use of the people that, they believe can provide them with a framework. What we've not been very good in Africa is to ensure that, we use our own expertise, to develop our nation. We've always been prone, using the colonial mentality, to always call for the Europeans, to call for the Americans, to call for the British to come and provide us with solutions. We can provide our own solutions. I think 2016 should be a platform whereby Africa should say we should start developing Africans to provide their own solutions. We should start developing, getting back the Africans from the diaspora to come back and, you know, provide and give their experiences in all the areas, not just security, in all areas of journalism, areas of doctors. You know, we have the expertise in Europe, we have the expertise in Africa. But all we do is, you know, we are very, very much more proactive in using European solutions, which in a sense, you know, it is for the interest of European governments. So 2016 should be a year whereby Africans should take responsibility.
David, you have no idea how much I needed that optimistic note. It was just something I was really latching onto, because 2016 sounds like a challenge. So, David Otto, Chris Samuel, thank you very much for this. It's been very enlightening.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Thank you.